3, 2, 1.
This week on the Adobe Video CHiNWAG, we're diving into the technical realm with Craige Mott and Tom Lithgow from Bluefish444. They're a Melbourne-based company that specialise in a range of interface solutions, designed to maximise performance and efficiency for a range of situations. We'll look at multicam ingesting, live editing, and the hardware required in delivering such bandwidth-intensive tasks. We'll discuss growing files and how to manage them within the edit and provide practical examples and case studies for live capture and production within Premiere. Join Jimmy, John, Craig and Tom for a CHiNWAG and ask any questions live so you can get a handle on this complex topic and gain an understanding on how this impressive Australian tech can help you wrangle your data. All on the Adobe Video CHiNWAG this Thursday night.
Woohoo! How's that for the new intro? I don't mind that at all. Welcome to the Adobe Video CHiNWAG Thursday nights, episode 8. We have got some guests with us tonight, but let's start with Jimmy, co-host. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very good. Tom, how you doing, Tom?
Hi there, John. Jimmy, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
And Craig.
Great,
G'day, John. G'day,
Thanks
Jimmy.
for joining us, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Been too long. We've
It's
been
a
waiting
pleasure.
a long time. We were keen
We
to
have
do
been-
this with you guys.
Have been planning this
Thank
for some
you.
time, yes.
Yeah, thank you for that.
No, it's good. How's your week been?
It's been busy.
Yep. Week's been good, productive.
And for people in Melbourne, that means a lot.
That's right. Yeah,
Yes, we are
it's
all
a
based in
tricky
Melbourne.
Situation,
This week's been
but
isolated,
Yes, we're all stuck somewhere.
but no, it's been productive. We've had a good
Good.
week so far.
Very
Yep.
good indeed.
Cool. All right. Well, we usually start off with going over some of the questions that we may not have got around to last week, but we didn't have that situation. So
No.
we can kind of get into our, main theme here. So before we start looking at some of the content that we've prepared, and we have prepared some pre-recorded content, and we've got a slideshow as well. I thought we might just reflect on what the topic itself is. Just have a little bit of a chat about conceptually what capture and editing live is, and then sort of the multicam bit is just this added bonus. How would you describe that, Jimmy, in your experience, what that theme means to you?
Well, it's something that I've been obviously looking into for quite some time because it hasn't been readily available or something I've been aware about for quite some time. But it does exist, and for me, it would be there'd be a number of uses for capture and use editing files on many sort of case studies that I would think about. I could think about it on set. I could think about it in terms of live production, in events production. So for me, it means there is a different dimension to editing, and the dimension is that I can take a growing file into my Premiere Pro program and then start cutting that file as it's actually being recorded. So, I mean, there is 1,000,001 ways which I could sit here and describe to you that I could probably use that for, but I know that Tom and Craig are here to talk about that for us.
Yes. Well, yeah, I've only really seen this sort of thing in broadcast. So
I haven't even seen it in broadcast, and I did say to Craig originally on our conversation the other day that I had not seen it personally, but it has been around for quite some time. So to me is mind blowing, and at this point in time, it's a game changer as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. All right. Well, Craig, why don't you start? Just introduce yourself, who you are, and sort of a little bit about your background. Then we'll move over to Tom, and then I think we'll do that slideshow so we can sort of frame things up.
Okay. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Craige Mott. I'm the managing director of Bluefish444 and have been for 20 years. Had the pleasure of running the company for that long. We've been around. We've been developing uncompressed SDI video cards for the post-production and broadcast industry in that time. We're known as the Professional's Choice. You see we've got a pretty cool logo here, the Professional's Choice. It's because we've developed a very high quality in and out card, very well manufactured, and it was best suited to broadcasters typically. We first developed support for Adobe Premiere back in 2004. That was the first video card to support Adobe Premiere in the world. And we updated every year our drivers. So I'm talking post-production workflows now with high quality external monitoring, SDI and HDMI, going up from SD to HD. In 4K in 2010, 2011, 4K hit. We were the first with Adobe Creative Suite 4K HDMI SDI preview. And we got to the Japanese market, who were the first in the world. Japan and Korea were the first to that. We have NHK as a customer for post-production. That's the national broadcaster of Japan. We have Nippon TV, and we have a company called Imagica, which is Japan's oldest post-production facility, opened in 1935. Fast forward to today, and we have post-production plugins up to 4K 60p, including 4K high dynamic range. So we're not the only video card in the industry that supports the Adobe Creative Suite with post-production workflows. Tom had the idea going back 5 or 6 years ago, I guess, that we needed to have something to help differentiate us other than the quality of our card, the reliability of our product. So we come up with being able to add a capture solution to our post-production suite of offerings. So we developed a piece of software that runs on our cards, and it's called IngeSTore. We can simultaneously capture with the inputs of our cards while we're doing the play out. And what that has meant is that in a live environment, we can capture multiple streams of SDI, encode them, and let the Adobe Premiere Pro editors work on those files while they're being played out, all right, while they're doing the edit. And that is something that is unique to Bluefish. No other video card has a bundled piece of software called IngeSTore or anything like it, or is sophisticated for live production. So essentially what we're able to do is offer a high quality video card that is dual purpose. It's production and post-production in the one product. You choose to use it both ways or either way with the Adobe Creative Suite. We support Premiere Pro with in and out, After Effects with output, Prelude, Audition, and Character Animator. So the whole suite of products is supported. So that's who I am, and that's a bit of background about Bluefish. Maybe John, if it's convenient, the slide.
Yep, give me 1 second. I'm just gonna make sure that it's
unless you want to have a
actually Tom.
Very impressive intro there, Craig. So how you're Melbourne based, and you've always been in Melbourne? The company's always been in Melbourne?
Yep. Traditionally, we're behind Crown Casino in South Melbourne. In the post-production precinct. Who's the big facility around the corner, Tom? We used to be in there all the time. I've forgotten their names.
Probably Blue Post.
Blue Post was there, and also Digital Pictures. And
Digital
Pictures, Deluxe,
quite a few.
Allura and all those guys. Yeah.
So we were around the corner from them.
Right.
But we moved as the crow flies directly north. We went across the river, and we're now based in North Melbourne, 600 metres from the Vic Market. We're in a fantastic old building, 2-storey building, which was it's a stable to a hotel originally. North Melbourne's a very old part of Melbourne, and we've got 2 layers, and all of the engineers can work up on the top level, and the production and the business can be run from down below. So and we also have for the local industry, people are welcome to come and see us. Contact details are on the website, obviously, but you're welcome to come in and test our products and get a local demo.
Yeah, that's
damn good to hear some Melbourne boys. You know, times like these. You know, I like to hear about local manufacturing. I like to hear about local business.
There was a point that you and I were talking, Jimmy, in the last week when we met each other for the first time. You were saying that you didn't know a lot about Bluefish. It's one of those situations where, because we do international travel all the time, and realistically 95 or 98%, 96% of our business is overseas, we're probably better well known in Los Angeles and New York and Tokyo and London than we are at home. A lot of our cards are inside servers of other manufacturers in the industry. So we supply a great Adobe partner in VizRT, and VizRT deliver their product to their customers with a Bluefish card already inside it.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're big broadcast manufacturing and technology.
Which again, it kind of blew
my
mind that this is coming out of Melbourne and that I wasn't aware of it. And it does sort of speak to the, I suppose, the narrow market that we have here in Melbourne. And I was just listening to the, or just reading the Screen Producers of Australia media release that they released yesterday that sees things are going to be a little bit more tight here in local production, which is unfortunate. But, you know, there are things that, there are things together that are being done, hopefully, that make an Australian campaign and a number of other things in the screen industry that will drive that narrative to keep things local and have content quotas and that sort of thing. And then, you know, we'll all get to enjoy the wonders of using a Bluefish card, no doubt.
Yeah.
I think,
well, Tom, I was just thinking, why don't we give Tom a bit of airtime? Tom, why don't you give us a bit of background for yourself as well? Then we'll look at the slides and then we can kind of start looking at what the technology looks like. And then we can move into the demos. But Tom, please introduce yourself and let us know your background.
Hit it.
Sure, not a problem. So thanks for having me on. My name is Tom Lithgow, and I'm the product manager at Bluefish444. So I work with Craig and the engineers here in Melbourne to help continue to support and develop the products that we manufacture, and the support for Adobe and that suite of software. To test and distribute the plugins and make sure that our partners are able to integrate that into their solutions. So as Craig mentioned, we part of my job is to come up with different ways to expand the business and to develop new offerings for Bluefish444, and one of those is IngeSTore, which is a multi-channel capture solution. So the software can take any Bluefish card and ingest video from our SDI inputs and write those to industry standard production and post-production and actually archive formats in a standard workstation or a Thunderbolt enabled laptop with a Thunderbolt expansion chassis or similar kind of system, and that sort of evolved into being some production workflows that we'll sort of cover in a bit once we go over the introduction video, which John will put on shortly, which will sort of just give a bit of an explanation as to how the recording and the content creation can kind of work together, either combined in a single workstation or in larger infrastructure in centralized ingest and network-based editing systems. So there's multiple different aspects to IngeSTore. It's actually a very flexible product, and it can be used in all sorts of different ways. But we'll kind of stick to some of the common workflows for production and post-production and how that kind of integrates with the Adobe solutions.
Cool. All right. Well, let's start looking at some visual guides here, I think, just to help us take these mental words and put them into images and make it all start making sense a little bit.
Yep.
So here we go. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen now.
1,000 words.
Now, I know you've got a copy of that with you. So I'm on screen 1, and I'm happy to guide my mouse around just so everyone can get a sense of what the heck is going on.
Okay, so on the what IngeSTore is, or IngeSTore combined with our plugins to Adobe, it is the alternative workflow to having a standalone recorder and taking the flash drives out and doing a data wrangling and transferring your media to a hard drive, your system drive, before you start editing it. All right.
Right. So this is moving it from the captured device and then having to physically move it from some recording device or format over then into the computer before you can even work with it.
Yep.
So you got to wait till it's finished doing the recording before it comes in to be worked on.
Absolutely. So that's it on the left, and you'll see that we've got a red circle with an arrow through it saying no. That workflow
I don't see a
is
red circle with an arrow. I'm on page 1.
Yep. It should be the recorders are on the left, and
okay. Yep.
Got that?
No.
All right.
Oh wait, my bad. I was on page 3.
Oh, I see.
What an idiot.
Back to
Okay,
page
let's
one.
go back. Let's
John,
go back.
Live
John,
television
what
here.
you've done is you've
This is a Molly Meldrum moment.
I have
here.
no idea why it would open on
You've
the third
stolen my
page.
thunder.
You've given away Rod Stewart's single
What a
before it was
drongo.
even out. Damn it. There we go.
Just fire me. Fire me.
Thank you. Everybody's back on the same page now.
All right, now we're back on page 1. Back on page 1.
There we go.
Okay, so IngeSTore is the alternative workflow to recorders. With recorders, as you were saying before, you've got to take the drive, you've got to wait for the record to finish, you've got to remove the media drive, you've got to do the copying over. That is what we've got a red circle saying you don't have to do that anymore. That is data wrangling. That is time consuming. That is slow. Over on the right, that's replaced with edit while record with Bluefish444, IngeSTore doing the capture and Adobe doing the edit. All right? That's the scene. That's what we are replacing for post-production. Down below, it should be saving this new approach from Bluefish, this unique approach from Bluefish is what saves you time and money.
So I would say a similar workflow that you've just described there would be I've got a Hyperdeck shuttle and I'm recording to SSD cards and I'm doing that via SDI. It's coming into my SDI recorder. Then I'm waiting for something significant to happen. Then that'll finish. I take that SSD card out of the recorder. I put it into, say, my multi-dock or just a standard SSD recording device. I read that and copy it into my system drive, which is where I'm housing all of the media for the production. I am then importing that into Premiere. I am then looking at that footage in Source Monitor and making notes about it. I'm giving that SSD back to the Hyperdeck shuttle person, and they're re-recording or recording new material to it. You've just eliminated about 6 processes there.
Yeah, absolutely. Saves a heap of time.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what we want to focus on today, and also to educate people that you can live edit. All right.
Yep.
So page 2, John.
Page 2.
Page 2, John. John, you okay? Page 2.
I'm on page 2. Trust me.
That's the middle one. So what we have is
there's only 3.
What we have is somebody watching this may already have a workstation or a Thunderbolt expansion chassis that has a video card, and they are using a video card from our competitor for post-production workflows. You could take that video card out, put a Bluefish video card in, download IngeSTore, buy the IngeSTore license, and then suddenly you've gone from a post-production workflow to a dual-purpose production and post-production workflow. All right?
Nice.
That's the opportunity with Bluefish to replace the video cards you've got. Okay, and the last slide, John.
Last slide is up and running.
It's up. Yep.
Now this is Jimmy's workflow. He's got the media from his SSD reader. And he doesn't have a video card. His opportunity, he's got a PC or a Mac or something that he does his post-production workflow on after he's got his media back. He can take that workstation, put a Bluefish video card in there, download IngeSTore, buy the correct license, and start edit while recording. So that third slide, that is exactly Jimmy's workflow that he was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
that's your opportunity. Take that, whatever system you're running with Premiere, put a Bluefish card in there.
Yeah, and again, I'm saying that you're actually, because I'm never used to using files in Premiere while they're being recorded. So normally I'm going through a process of data wrangling and getting the files in, sorting them to folders, and then bringing them into Premiere, and then doing my highlights packages, generally re-exporting them out to an MP4 or whatever production wants back, and then they play that back out of their playout. And I think you were saying you do playout as well from the card. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where we started.
Yeah,
that's our external monitoring to high quality HDI and SDI. That's what we've been doing since 2004, all the way up to today with our latest card. We're doing that at 4K, high frame rate, high dynamic range.
So Tom, give us a bit of an insight into your how do you play in this role, and what are you doing? Are you developing a whole lot of ideas that are going to probably stack on top of the IngeSTore idea, like the product, or I mean, where do you fit in?
Sure. So there's continuous development coming from Bluefish engineers and between the customer side, the people using Bluefish products, people using Adobe and IngeSTore. I interface between those customers, those end users, the content creators, and our engineers, and we develop ways of making those workflows more efficient. So what Craig's sort of touching on there, and what IngeSTore offers is multiple aspects. There's consolidation, so you can take what would be 2, 3, 4 pieces of equipment and potentially 2 or 3 people, and consolidate that down to a single workstation and 1 or 2 people to do the same amount of work. So it gives you that access. You can turn up somewhere and with very limited amount of equipment, but very powerful equipment, powered with a Bluefish ingest and output solution, and you can offer more than just the video preview from your Adobe suite. You can record in the background, and you can create your content, and you can then also simultaneously preview that content out of the SDI or HDMI preview from the Bluefish card. So we've got a couple of different kind of workflow examples. Like I said, it's pretty flexible, so you can use it however you see fit. But there's a couple of very good examples, and these are cases that have been deployed. And after the video that John should be able to put on shortly, maybe I'll go through some of those user stories, those case studies that we've done, which are posted on the Bluefish website. But I can discuss how our customers have deployed IngeSTore as a solution alongside Adobe in different levels of different types of productions.
Yeah, so we might hit up that in anima. Is it that the animation one with your art director guy?
We've got a little short introduction video to IngeSTore, which we could put on now, and then following that, I think we can probably go straight into the video that sort of gives a workflow for centralized ingest, which was the first video.
Yeah. So there is a question in the chat that's saying someone has done this sort of stuff before, but they really don't understand how it works. So let's play back these videos, and then we'll sort of open it up and really investigate the way it actually comes together. Righto. Right. Roll the tape.
Roll the tape, boys.
Meet IngeSTore, an easy-to-use capture application which can record 4 channels of video and encode in real time to a variety of file formats. For live and on-set production, broadcast and sports, you need to deliver great quality with no downtime. If you need a complete all-in-one appliance, IngeSTore server is easily integrated with your existing storage to get recording immediately. IngeSTore has been designed so that you can not only record to local storage, but also record straight to your network storage devices. Why is this important? It streamlines the capture process and eliminates the need for media offloading from your camera or standalone recorder, saving you valuable production time. By encoding the file directly to a location on your network, your entire team has instant access to the file as soon as it becomes available for maximum efficiency. And with our Edit While Record functionality, you can start editing in Adobe Premiere Pro while the recording is still underway.
Woo! That was quick. There we go. So that's how that works.
All right.
Do you want to just expand on it a little bit more? Like, people just sort of don't quite know. It's a dark art. People freak out. They're like, what if I cut it and I break it while it's growing? Like,
So I know. So that's kind of how it works. If you're the user, that's a screen recording that just basically shows you've got an ingest system. You can record those videos. Was that the IngeSTore video, the introduction, or was?
The animated introduction. Yeah.
Yep. So basically, like I said, it's a 4-channel recorder. IngeSTore can be integrated into all sorts of different workflows. What we're really concentrating on today is the growing files, edit while record workflow. So essentially, there's multiple different aspects, which we'll get into a bit with the following videos. But basically, they can be achieved because, and it's a really good workflow with Adobe, because Adobe has native support for growing files in the MXF OP1A format. So that file format actually supports growing files natively. So certain file formats have this built in. So as the file's growing, it gets indexed internally, and the length of that clip gets updated in the application that you're using, so Adobe. And it'll just appear that the duration will update every 30 seconds or 60 seconds or so. So that's technically how it works. It's the file gets re-indexed, and the software is able to see that file is updating in its length.
Right. Yep. So there's in Premiere, if any one of you have got your Premiere Pro open right now, you can go into the preferences and you'll see, I think it's under media. I forget exactly where it is. One of the preferences, there is a growing files refresh rate, and by default, it's every 30 seconds.
It's in preferences general.
Yeah, there you go. So that's been there for quite some time, and I first started to see this in action at SBS during the World Cup, quite a few World Cups ago.
Yeah.
And it was pretty awesome to kind of see how they were getting the feeds coming through, and then they were having this slight delay. I think we extended the delay from 30 seconds to be a little bit longer. And then what they were able to do was, as the live feed and switch was going out, they were getting the live switched feed, and they were getting the ISOs. So each camera was coming in as its own feed that was continually capturing at the same time that they were getting access to it. And then they were cutting together their packages for the replays and for other little things like that, and all the little commentary bits when they have some stoppage or something.
Yeah.
And then they talk about, oh, we saw what this was going on here, and that was really good. And they kind of review different parts of the game. And so they were cutting it up and then pushing it out like, sorry, I just hit my microphone there, pushing it out like minutes after. It was really cool to see how that worked. But that's the first and only time I've really seen it working.
That's because it's a broadcast. It's a broadcast technology. It's used for the players in that market. That would have been probably EVS from Belgium. That would have been their product in use. And it's
have you deployed anything on the Tour de France? Because I remember I was doing some stuff with a group, and it was played out to me, but I was only on Premiere, so I had no idea how it was happening. That was my first experience with growing files. Was like, no, you're using it, it's coming in. I was like, yeah, okay, fine. Could have been.
Le Tour is done through SBS as well, so they were using the same sort of system there.
Yeah,
too.
Right, okay.
But it's the same.
Part
Footy
of our
does the
appeal
same.
here is that we're bringing sports production technology to the post-production market.
Yeah.
And making it accessible. I think that's one of the key things there, is that this technology has been around for a while and it's been accessible, but it's really quite kind of big fixed infrastructure technology that will only be deployed in certain instances. It's quite expensive to deploy. It's not super accessible for everybody. I think what Bluefish are offering is to make that kind of technology accessible to all users of Bluefish cards and all users of Adobe, and like I said, to be flexible in all sorts of different workflows.
100%.
I've got a good example of a customer Tom and I have been dealing with this past week, and they've owned the system for 3 years, and they're a German-based production company. They use their IngeSTore server in their facility to capture to Nix's shared storage and have the editors collaborate via network attached storage. They take the same system, so that's in their studio. They take the same system out to do live events. And at the live event, what their workflow is that they give a live stream of the actual live event. It might not be sport, it might be a corporate event, an AGM, or it might be some sort of trade show. They're giving a live stream continuously. The camera has a loop output, and they are taking a multicam feed into their IngeSTore workstation, and of what's being streamed, they're bringing it into their workstation. They're creating a highlights package of the event and posting that to social media. whilst they're streaming the event same time.
Mm.
So it's perfect, and we have
Cool.
seen that feedback continuously, that they're using it to create highlight packages in a live environment.
Yeah. And again, I being from a film sort of background, I see it as being a little bit different, but it's exactly that thing. You're creating moments, or actually doing scene edits, scene reviews, cutting together, let's say, a multitude of moments from a particular shoot in a drama, or let's say an indie, or whatever you're doing. But then your data wrangler is doing this dual function of, I'm putting together stuff, but I'm also absolutely able to be up to the moment, because you're pulling it in as they're shooting it, which is before was never the option, really. I said to you before, I had a solution which doesn't really work great, but I do it where I pull a camera feed straight into the computer, record that via a QuickTime, just my QuickTime thing, because that's how I can get it into the machine, and then cut scenes together, and then a director could look at them at lunchtime and say, oh, okay, continuity's out, or that really angled, that didn't work for that kick or punch if it's an action, or if it's drama, the reactions aren't working that well. I can see this as being like an immediate solution to not only on-set but also playback, because then you could play it back to, say, multitudes of monitors into Video Village, where the editor is the data wrangler / editor / that person in the DI Video Village has become kind of the keeper of the knowledge, in a sense, because then if directors are making mistakes, or things aren't working, you're workshopping it on site. And for me, that's what I'm passionate about, because I know filmmaking is incredibly cost prohibitive, and people need to get things done really quickly, and budgets are tightening and tightening and tightening. So you need to work out a way that you can actually say, right, that scene has been covered. We've got everything. It cuts together beautifully. The masters are going to be in the camera, but I've got the rough cut and we're ready to go. That's what makes me go, shit, that's next level. Right?
So I got a question about this. So when you the recording system, though, does it interact with the button on, button off of the cameras?
Yeah, good question.
No, so there is capacity to add record triggers that are embedded in the SDI signals. That's not currently a feature, but it's something that we can we've explored with some of our customers. Generally speaking, so for fixed facility, for example, where it's a studio, they're kind of going to want to spin up all the cameras simultaneously. So if you're doing a multicam, you want all of those to come up at the same time, and it's less of a kind of camera operator thing rather than the recorder is outboard. So the camera's alive all the time, and the recorder is there to be triggered when they see fit. So for that kind of system, it's not so much based on the camera, but I can see obviously there's workflows where on set you might want that functionality. Yeah, and that's something that we explore.
Not 100%, but it is good to know that could be a thing, because triggering does happen on a number of devices that I use, but obviously they're off-board recording devices; they're not inboard. So that's it's interesting, but I mean, again, if I was there solely as that production editor doing rushes and rough cuts, I mean, I'm just going to click record, or I'm just going to watch that file grow. Click record. See, that's my old school thinking right there. If I'm just waiting for that file to grow, and I'm just pulling in those bits as they're happening.
And that's it. I mean, these days with the media being for storage being so huge, you're not so concerned about how much storage you're chewing up. If you're not recording onto an SSD or a camera card, you're recording onto a larger storage network or internal storage where you've got oodles and oodles of storage. It's not so much of an issue, so you can just leave recording for the whole time. You might want to, that way it's up to the content creator to jump in and choose the bit that they want. You're not too concerned about kind of clipping on and off in camera. It's more the content creators kind of role to jump in there and start making markers, or I think you referred to it as clipping previously.
Clipping,
Jim.
yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to the other video, and then you can give us a breakdown of that one. All righty, roll the tape.
Hi, okay, so I'm going to run you through using IngeSTore software, Bluefish or multi-channel capture solution with the Adobe Premiere Pro tools. So specifically we're going to show you how to edit while record, so you can record your media and bring that into Premiere Pro while the recordings are ongoing. So we'll jump straight over to the IngeSTore system here. So you'll see I can bring up IngeSTore and you can see there are 4 channels there. If I click through and I can select the record format, which will choose XDCam, a native edit while record or growing files format in Premiere Pro. We'll start that recording, and that recording is going straight to our DDP shared storage via a 10 gig network. And if I flick over to the Adobe system, so this is a completely separate system connected to that same storage. I can run a Teams project here, and I can bring in my media from that shared storage over the 10 gigabit network, bring that into Premiere Pro, and what you'll see here is that the file name is actually in italics. So the italics shows that that clip is actually a growing file. So you can see straight away that your clip is still a recording that's ongoing, so you'll expect its duration to increase. So if we look at the media duration here, you'll be able to see that in a moment. That'll actually, that duration will increase from what it is right now. So we're just playing that in the source window. There's a few settings inside the Adobe software to allow you to change some of these things, how frequently it refreshes, and whether you want the source window to continue to play media while it's refreshing. So you'll see that happen here in a moment when it gets near the end of the clip. That media will refresh and suddenly become another 30 seconds longer. So there we go. That's it. Just jumped in duration. So I've kept the IngeSTore window here in the corner so that you can see that the recording is actually still ongoing. So here's some of the preferences I mentioned earlier. We've got a Bluefish card in here, so we've got video preview on the output as well, SDI video preview. But the preferences for the media you can set to 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever your preference is, however long your event is, and a few other properties there. So this here is actually a network-based controller we call Net Access. So Net Access allows us to control the IngeSTore system across the network. So we don't actually need to be like right in front of the IngeSTore system. You can control that through your web browser, and you know, me being the content creator or someone on the network can start and stop those recordings, bring them into Premiere Pro, start to chunk up your media, make a promo clip or a highlight package, and yeah, you can be doing the recording and doing the editing, starting and stopping those channels, selecting the media you want to record, the location, the file names. It's a really efficient, simple workflow that we bring through the IngeSTore and Adobe Premiere Pro integrations.
Ooh. I think that actually helps make it make a bit more sense, especially for people who are not familiar with it or haven't seen it before, haven't touched it before. Probably never even realised that feature for the refresh was even inside of the preferences.
Yeah. And simply knowing that's a thing. For me, it was I
hope that does sort of help people understand, you know, how an operator might see the recording and the content creator kind of can interact with that media while it is recording. It's a very short video, so it's just a quick introduction, but it sort of goes through sort of what that looks like to the people that will be using that equipment. And I guess sort of maybe what I wanted to talk about, which we just mentioned a bit before, is that where that kind of thing might get used. So you sort of brought up already, on set is one place where this is a useful tool, but also for live events, so corporate or any kind of live event, so concerts, music events, or somewhere where you want to record that media, you want to be able to create your packages and then push it out through whatever medium whether it be social media or whatever medium you want to put out your media. There's also sports and this kind of events. So that's sort of where it might get used. And I can sort of touch on, I guess, some of the customers that have actually deployed this. So
I actually want to do the show and tell, Craig.
Okay.
Hit me with the
sure.
hit me with the toys. I
you.
want to see the toys.
All right. So here's in case people don't know what an uncompressed PCIe video card is. It would go in your server, your workstation from Dell or Hewlett Packard or something like that.
Great color.
Here is the same card inside an expansion chassis from Sonnet for Thunderbolt workflows.
So if I'm a Mac user, that's right up my alley.
Yeah, this is Windows only, right?
Yeah.
So we do have post-production for Mac, but we should have said at the beginning, this is a Windows only.
Oh, IngeSTore is Windows
IngeStore
only, is that right?
software is a Windows application at the moment. Yeah.
Right. So boys are going to have to work on that just to get it.
Yeah, we've had that feedback a bit. And just finally, that's our newest card here. This is 2 streams of 4K 60p.
Ooh.
It's doing your in post-production world. This doesn't run IngeSTore yet, but that's your 4K high frame rate, 4K high dynamic range.
And just on that card, you got a benchmark on the computer you want to stick that into?
That last one,
Mm-hmm.
not yet, because IngeSTore doesn't run on that. We're
So
working.
what's the benchmark? Give me a base benchmark for some like a HP X something or whatever.
So if you were using that card for post-production workflows, for HDR post-production workflows, you'd be looking at a Z8 G4. So one of the latest HP or an equivalent Dell workstation at that level, but it's a pretty high-end machine because when you're crunching that kind of data.
Just behind me is how we package IngeSTore as a 3AU server. So there's 4 channels of ingest that gets rack mounted, and that'll capture directly to your network attached storage. This is how we sell it most of the time at the moment. We just deployed one today to a house of worship in Illinois. So the equivalent of in Australia, it would be equivalent of Hillsong. Yeah, somebody that has a live.
It sounds like the house of worships in Illinois have got better capacity than most of the networks in this country. So that's a little bit embarrassing.
Yep. So that was a good question. So it's PC only, and we have a dedicated to take away that because the processing is done in CPU, the encoding.
Yeah.
So we don't want too many support issues by people building the wrong system themselves. So what we recommend is that you buy the one that we have that we can support. We know that will encode 4 channels simultaneously.
Yeah, we're looking at qualified for all the different codecs that are offered inside the IngeSTore package, which is quite a long list. So it does come quite complicated to work out what system is required for what kind of codec and what kind of post-production work.
And that includes J2K for archival. So we can capture to J2K. Right? So, So,
cool. Amazing bit of kit. I reckon I'll be
Thank you.
Exploring that avenue for sure.
So with setting it up on that, like a system for capture that then goes to NAS storage, let's say, or SAN.
Yep.
Then you could have Macs hooked up to it and actually doing the growing file bit.
Yep. That the NLE is independent in that. So any connected NLE, any connected Adobe Premiere Pro system can start to read those files because that's a native workflow for Adobe systems anyway. So, if people want to create content on their laptops, whether it's a MacBook or a ZBook or if it's a full workstation, that part doesn't matter because the network attached storage kind of takes care of the sharing aspect of the files. Right. And the Adobe is able to read them while they're growing, and we're writing the files that are capable of being read by those systems.
That's amazing.
It's just you just go through the media browser and you connect to the files, and then in the background they just keep refreshing and re-indexing what that duration is as you're cutting it.
Exactly, and that works in both local storage, so you can actually have a single workstation recording to your local array or your local SSD. NVMe storage, and then reading on the same machine, that's fine. Or you can be a larger infrastructure where you're recording to network attached storage using like the IngeSTore server, where it's actually writing across a 10 gigabit network or a 5 channel.
Yeah.
And then your editors are also connected to that and reading that content simultaneously.
And not to naysay, but any issues you've had that pop up, or is it plug and play and you're happy to go?
The issue, if we're going to get an issue, now it's a relatively mature piece of software that's been in the market since 2014. Was used for archival initially. When we do get some problems, is when people have bought the card themselves and not specified a fast enough machine.
Yeah.
So that's what's going to happen, and what that'll result with is drop frames, which nobody wants.
Yeah.
So it is important that you work with us to make sure it's specified correctly.
Yeah. And you do that. You make sure if somebody's going to buy the card, can they send you specs and you specify, or
we do give some guidance, but obviously we can't ultimately then take responsibility of that final output of the system because we haven't kind of fully specified that and shipped it out. So we do provide some insight into what's required, but it has tripped up users before, customers before.
And that's typically where it's the middle person, it's the integrator, your reseller, your local video specialist, that will work with us to put together a correctly specified system. Most people don't come in and buy an individual card, they buy a system.
Right, you want a turnkey solution. You want to sort of have something you go, this is tested, it's guaranteed, it's supported. If I call you, you've tested this setup to the nth degree, and if there's anything that's not quite right, you're able to troubleshoot it in a heartbeat.
Yep,
yeah, absolutely. And also it's worth mentioning there, with the IngeSTore server, the deployments that we do typically for that kind of thing, especially on a larger scale, we offer integration support. So that's more often than not remote integration support. So we'll just make sure that when they're integrating that system, someone will at their site will plug that in, they'll connect it to their storage, they'll do some of their network stuff because we can't advise on that. That's their security kind of policies and that kind of thing. But once it's connected and up and running and the video sources are attached, we can then jump onto the system and help them through any kind of just licensing issues, make sure the licenses are there, make sure that the recordings are going to their storage correctly, they're able to read those files, all those kind of just the early, let's make sure it is doing its job as it's supposed to. And generally it's not a problem, but we're able to offer that service to get that integrated into their facility through remote integration. And that's been very successful.
We have a number of video case studies and written testimonials on our website to be able to look to. So they're our partners, our customers that have put together a video like this, somewhere between 3 to 8 minutes to describe their experience in having used IngeSTore. So plenty of installed customers worldwide. We also have it, it's quite interesting, we have it in 2 parliaments. We have it in Tasmanian Parliament and also the Pennsylvania House of Representatives. They use it slightly differently. They want to be able to record everything. They want to record it for archive, but at the end of the day, make some highlights of the day or some edits of the day. They're not using it in the real-time sense that we are.
Make sure the public is aware of the policy decisions that they're making.
Yeah.
Maybe you should maybe the next presidential debate after yesterday's CHiNWAG, you could deploy that.
So we have it deployed multiple different ways, different ways, including 100%. Capturing from VTRs. So if you've got
even better.
Yeah, so if you've still got tape, we have a very high quality card. You can capture from 4 VTRs simultaneously. Some people buy IngeSTore server only for that.
That's the archival workflow, which actually has seen a lot of interest over the last few years because every country globally is facing the same thing, whereby the tape mediums are actually getting to the point where it's very difficult to be able to replay on the machines. So they're under a lot of pressure from their governments and their archive bodies to be able to increase their capacity. And so they're looking for solutions, and there are solutions out there. IngeSTore is a very efficient and very cost-effective solution for achieving that. That's been deployed to British Film Institute in the UK. They're using that. I think they've got 4 or 5 systems now.
BFI. Yeah, nice.
Yep.
Sweet.
Also,
we've got another video Do we want to go down that road? We've kind of gone a little bit over time, but I'm happy to keep this thing going.
But let's just keep talking shit. Let's go.
Well,
This is great.
Should we roll the last video?
Roll the last video. There may be a bell going, which could be my missus. So
okay, all right. Well, let's get this
I told
rolling.
her to turn up at 8:05 to pick me up.
My wife is like, get the fuck out of there. What are you doing?
I did have a bit of a faux pas with the audio last time, so hopefully I get it right this time. Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, so in this video I'm going to introduce you to the IngeSTore and Adobe Premiere Pro edit while record, but in this video we're going to focus on when those two things are happening on a single workstation computer, so you can actually you can still collaborate with teams, but you could be a standalone recorder and content creator in one very efficient system. So let's jump into the demo here. So I'll run IngeSTore software, where we can see we have 4 channels of HDSDI coming in. So we can record those 4 simultaneously, but we'll set channel 1 up to XDCam, or to AVC intro, sorry. And we'll record to a local array, local disk. So we'll start the recording on channel 1. We'll minimize that and open up Adobe Premiere Pro. So I've got a Bluefish card in this system with outputs, so we can select that and use that for video, HDSDI video preview from the Adobe Premiere Pro system while we're recording. So I'll import the clip from our local storage. It's just on a different drive. And once that comes in, we can see that the clip's name is in italics, so that represents a growing file. And we'll bring that into the source window, and there we have it. So we can start playing that media back. I'll just expand the media bin here so that you can see the media duration. So that's around 30 seconds or so at the moment. And as we scan across this clip here, there we go, we've just seen that's jumped to 1 minute and 5. So the media will keep growing. So that was recording to the local disk array. We can actually record to shared storage as well, so you can collaborate with teams while you're ingesting on the same system as you're editing on, and other people can be editing the same media. So let's go back to IngeSTore, and we can actually so channel 1's still recording. We'll set up channel 2, and we'll set that to record to a network location, so network shared storage for a second channel. So we'll just select that on our DDP shared storage across a 10 gig network. Allows for team collaboration. Start that recording, and we can bring that into Premiere Pro. Select our network drive there, and in the MXF again you can see the name is italics, the text is italics, that represents a growing file. We can bring that into the source preview, and there we have it. We have a second clip being recorded. So both channels are recording on the IngeSTore system, on the IngeSTore software right now, and we're editing that media in Premiere Pro. One of them's going to shared storage on network, and the other one's going to local storage. So I can, take an in and out point from either of those clips, throw that into a sequence here, and start to edit, I don't know, a highlight package from an event. And while I'm doing this, I'm actually able to give you a real-time, very high-quality HDSDI preview from within Premiere Pro, using the Bluefish available outputs. So you've got simultaneous capture and playback with both applications running simultaneously, hand in hand. So you can see this is a very, very efficient way of working, where you could take a laptop or you could take a workstation with a few inputs and an output, and you can record your media and start to edit that material.
All right,
So
I've just unmuted everybody. Yeah, cool.
I went hot on that take. Sorry.
That's pretty cool. So you were using team projects there, I noticed.
Yeah, so we've
video,
been using that for a while because we're connected to shared storage and we've got a few systems there. So we just kind of use that as one of the shared projects that we can kind of open from any of the machines. So I wasn't really necessarily using any of the additional functionality it brings. It's just it makes some of the work we do in our lab that much easier to kind of open a Teams project, because then we all get access to that pre-templated kind of work. But yeah, hopefully that kind of shows how IngeSTore is quite flexible and can be used in those kind of different environments, either a centralized kind of ingest where you've got multiple editors that can feed off of that, or in that example, it was all kind of in one machine where the content creator can also be the person that's recording that media. So you can kind of consolidate a bit of the equipment and consolidate some of the time required and the people that might be required on site.
Gents, I might have to start to excuse myself because my wife's probably sitting out in the car outside here.
We're going to have that because I'm in the same situation.
It's going to be 11 minutes worth of wrath.
All good, all good. Well, thanks for sticking around a little bit longer.
Very impressed. Thank you.
It's great, guys.
Here, boys.
Thank you for the chance to explain it. It's really much appreciated.
Yeah.
Well, if anybody wants to ask any further questions, we've got this on replay. Jump on the comments section. You go to bluefish444.com, I think it is.
Yep.
And yeah, give these guys a hoy. They're based in Melbourne. Once the restrictions lift, I'm sure they'll be happy to have you come around and check out their facility and do some tests before you maybe go ahead and look at using this in your own production cycle. So yeah, great. Thanks for joining us, and have a good night,
here, boys.
Right.
Thanks,
fellas.
Thanks very much.
Really appreciate it. Have a
No
good one.
worries.
Cheers.
See you later.
All right.
Bye.